Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Morgan welcoming you to the Libertarian Counterpoint's Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. You've heard their point, now listen to the counterpoint.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. We're coming at you on March 31st, 2021. We're about 2.5 months into the Biden administration. It seems to be just a culture of cancellation. But before we get into any of that, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett, a pilot in the state of California. And in our upper right-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. My name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. So cancel culture. This time we did a show about a week ago or so on just, sort of a lot of the things are being canceled and a few people in there. But one of the kind of disturbing trends we've noticed lately, too, is people just being canceled on the basis of race. And that's, seems to be certainly going in one direction nowadays. One of the most absurd stories I think I've heard lately was the New York Times, of all people. These people, democracy dies in darkness, and all these other things the press loves to say about themselves. They actually canned one of their reporters earlier this year, and I guess his name was Donald McNell, and I think he was one of their key guys on COVID, I believe.
He was the main science reporter.
Yeah. And so he was apparently on a trip sponsored by the Times that had, I guess, high school or college students on it. And one of them asked him a question about somebody uttering the N-word. Okay, the N-word, that word that apparently we're supposed to just like not be able to say words nowadays because that's the thing, or you might invoke being canceled as a person.
We better be careful. We might get fired.
Exactly. Yeah, the power that we have given words, is just astounding. But what was said by this reporter
is bad enough. We have 2 white guys to 1 black guy, bad enough already.
Hey, as far as the population goes, though, we're overrepresented. We got to worry about the Asians and Hispanics. They're going to be upset because they're not represented enough. So yeah, and we're slightly overrepresented as white guys, and we have no women. So unless one of you feels that way today, I don't know.
and you're overrepresented on immigrants too, also. Okay, take note.
There you go.
Yeah, and so we really have to be careful because we're already treading on thin ice. So we say the wrong words and we're gone.
Yeah. Well, and that's not a joke today. That's what's so sad about it.
It's true.
And this is the danger is, certainly we all, personally might cancel somebody in our lives if they're just a bore who runs around trying to offend everybody. I think we all understand that. But the idea that people might just say something that somehow there might be an innocent reason for it or whatever, and you just got to cancel them because that's the religiosity of the current, that's in fashion today, essentially. And here with the New York Times, this is how insane it is. He was asked a question by somebody else about, by a young person, about somebody who used the N-word. And so he used the N-word back to them in saying what the proper response to dealing with that situation should be. And he was condemned. And it's funny, too, because the actual, I guess, the editors at the paper, when this first was brought to their attention, they didn't actually, they just sort of admonished him and told him, hey, look, we got to be careful. And I think there was a few little penalties, but that was going to be good enough. But there was actually a petition that was sent around by the younger woke people in the organization, and they couldn't handle the fact that he had said the N-word and wasn't being canned for it. And so they got rid of him. The gutless New York Times, got rid of a reporter for essentially using freedom of speech to speak their mind about, an important topic nowadays. And I just can't, it's just blows your mind. You guys have any thoughts on that?
I'm wondering how the New York Times is doing financially. Yeah, how close to bankruptcy they are.
They're heading that way. They're heading that way, but
yeah,
they're still hanging on.
Yeah, I've been hearing this. I mean, their business model is gone out of style and so on. Has been, usurped by the digital world and the internet and so on. But yeah, and so maybe I'm thinking that they're just barely hanging on, and they don't need anything. There's the people at the top. I'm not sure if it's totally being gutless or if there is some semblance. I mean, I'm sure that's part of it. But if there may be some semblance related to their financial position and their tenuous financial position, and they're just trying to hang on. They don't want to rock the boat in any way. I don't know.
Well, something funny about that, though, is most of these young woke people aren't the people who pay for newspapers. They're not the people who will, they want everything for free on the internet.
But the funny thing about all this, Jason, you just said that this is the life we are in today, where people are getting canceled for using words today. But that is going on, yes, but that's not really the issue. People are being canceled for words they spoke 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And this is the horror of this all, that these woke people think that they have this semblance of perfection, that they could determine who should eat and who should not eat, because when you destroy a man's or woman's livelihood, you really determine whether they could eat or not, right? They could dip into their savings for so long. But the whole issue here is this cancer culture is nothing but poison. It is really and truly a poison. And we are trying, and they are trying to segregate us, to segregate society, not only segregate us in terms of our physical segregation, but segregate us in terms of our thinking. I used to travel on the public train every day during my working years. On the southern line of the Sacramento of the light rail, we used to go through South Sacramento, and I can tell you almost every day I used to hear that word being spoken. Almost every day, the N word, very popular on the train. You listen to any form of hip hop, you're gonna hear the word. It's being used quite often. People are making millions of dollars using that word. But a funny thing happens when that word comes out of the word of a non-black person. All of a sudden, it's offensive. This is the segregation that's going on right now. Our minds are being segregated. George Wallace said a very long time ago, 1963 to be exact, segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. I can't do his accent, so I wouldn't try. I'm not as good as Tim. But the point is, though,
it's really not that difficult.
Well, thank you. You'll have to teach me that one, Tim. But the point is, though, we are today living George Wallace's vision. That is what is happening. We are living his vision of segregation forever. And they are finding ways to segregate us. So that when I see you guys, I do not see another human being. I must see an evil white person. Because whiteness is not a disease, right? And anytime you use that word, I must make sure that you are cancer free, because you have hurt me. Oh my God, please. You have so hurt me by using that word. This is the madness that we are living in today. We are being segregated, not only physically, but mentally. That's what's going on. Social cannibalism is active and alive in our society.
Well, Leon, you brought up a few excellent points there. And, one, I just can't help too, but thinking there's some religiosity as well going here, that you win points by being the person to identify and find the bigot for everybody. You know, if you are the one who can point the injustice out, you know, even if it's just sort of a make-believe injustice, if you're the one who can get everybody riled up, you get the points. You know, you're the one who gets elevated for this destructive culture. But you know, it's funny. You brought up some points about the past. You know, that this isn't just current, like in the case of the New York Times reporter, where he literally, this is something that just happened, I guess, a few months ago with him. But in the case, there was a gal in this terrible television show called The Bachelor. I can't imagine, you know, what it must be like to have nothing better in your life going on, that you have time to sit and watch television trash like The Bachelor. But where literally a bunch of make-believe people get together for a make-believe relationship where they sort of fall in love with 20 cameras on them. And you know, one guy chooses from 20 women who are throwing themselves at him. And you know, for feminism, anybody? I don't know. But anyway, you know, I can't imagine a more ridiculous scenario. But what happened in The Bachelor is just astonishing recently. This one guy, he was a black guy who was the Bachelor this time. And so there was all these different women who were competing for his affection on the show. And so this one white woman was, I guess she was doing pretty good, which, you know, that should be a great sign that we're doing well as a society, that nobody has a problem with this. And that's wonderful. But apparently somebody dug out in her past that about 3 years ago, she had gone to a sorority fraternity party, I guess, that was an antebellum theme. So now antebellum theme doesn't mean that they actually had people working as slaves out in the yard. It just simply means that people are dressing up, I believe, as the way people dressed up in the Old South. Kind of like the way some people dress up as Roman soldiers on Halloween and other places where slavery did exist in those periods too. But for this crime of her going to that was brought out, and she was immediately shamed on this television show. So they made a point of the fact that this was a horrific thing for her to have gone to an antebellum party. Now, she is not being accused of using the N-word. She's not being accused of doing anything else that was derogatory to somebody based on their skin color. Literally, this made up crime of having gone to a costume party.
Yes.
Where she didn't even do blackface like Jimmy Kimmel or Sarah.
Or the governor of Virginia right now. Well, he was either in blackface or he was wearing a Ku Klux Klan hoodie. So he's still governor.
Exactly. But this woman just decided to play dress up in dresses with her friends, essentially. and she is being pilloried for this. And you know, the astounding thing. So not only are they making a big deal about this on the show, where they're literally having her give an apology to the black guy that she's trying to date on the show for a crime that she never committed against him. And it's an apology to him for going to this antebellum party, you know, that was before she ever knew him. So the logic is just beyond strain. I mean, you just disconnected. It's just beyond anything. But what's even more bizarre is the guy who's the host of the show, who'd been the host, I guess, since the thing began for like 8 or 9 years or something. He apparently said, hey, you know, come on, let's give this gal a little bit of grace. We don't know, you know, exactly everything about this, and let's just give her the benefit of the doubt. They canceled him.
Yeah, he became a racist. Yes, he became a racist for making a statement like that. Yeah, that's unbelievable.
It's just beyond imagination. And they had her do this whole apology thing. And of course, they replaced the white host with a black host. But it's just absolutely, you know, beyond. I'll hand it over to you guys. Hopefully you guys saw the clips. And by the way, we can't really show these because of copyright, but we've included the links in our show. So feel free to go there. Yeah. It's just beyond belief. It's literally new age bootlicking, just, you know, on television.
None of us are safe. None of us. And so, I guess we better take this under advisement, you know, better walk around on eggshells here and everywhere, and never express yourself or never tell people about your past? Or was that another contestant, perhaps a black contestant, that brought that up?
That's a good question, but I don't know the answer. But that's a good question.
Yeah, and then to watch the Bachelor, who was apparently so narcissistic that he had to take it upon himself to feign this great, horrible disappointment in her for this past horrible thing that she did, to the world by going to the antebellum thing. Oh my gosh. These guys, first of all, they're all getting coached. They're all getting coached, whether they have something good happen or bad happen. I'm going to take some of this with a grain of salt. I'm not going to rain on our doom and gloom parade here, but I guess I am. I'm raining on our doom and gloom parade.
You don't think this girl is really humiliated on TV over this nonsense?
I think that they were all coached, and this is all something to increase ratings for the show. Personally,
even the firing of the host.
The host was fired in real, Tim. The host was really fired.
Yeah,
that was real.
Yeah, I think I'm sure you're right. There's a combination of this going on.
I think
they're spinning it, and they are destroying people at the same time. I think they're just.
Well, okay. See, I don't know, so I really shouldn't say. So, my rain may be more like mist on your doom and gloom parade here. We have a symbol in aviation for mist, and it's Bravo Romeo, the letter B and for Bravo, and the letter R for Romeo, BR. And to remember it, because it stands, when you see that on a report, weather report, it stands for mist. And so to help you remember, like, what's BR, crying out loud, we say it's baby rain. Baby rain is BR, and it stands for mist, which is baby rain, right?
Baby rain.
And so that's what we do to help ourselves remember what the coding of these weather reports are. And so I am just saying that this whole idea of them being coached and everything is baby mist, baby rain on your doom and gloom parade, because you're right, that guy got fired. And I'm assuming, unless that was the whole thing, unless he came to them, 6 months before and said, hey, in 6 months, I've got another gig I want to do, and maybe we can make this work out. Now, would that be a scheme right there? What do you think of that? Let's make this all work out, and you'll even fire me, and I'll come to her. Could they go that far?
Well, it's possible, Tim, but I don't think that's what happened here. Honestly, I don't. I
don't think so either.
I am just so ashamed of these people. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Yes, this adult man. Yeah, I'm talking about the Bachelor in this case, the tall black guy.
Yeah.
This adult man acting like a crybaby because this girl went to an antebellum party 3 years prior, and you are offended today?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're offended today? Seriously?
How does he face his friends after that performance?
You must be a damn wimp.
I know, I saw it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It's like,
well, maybe it's part of this whole triggered culture, you just get triggered and everybody has to just bow to your emotions,
Tell me this thing.
That's what's going on the campus.
Tell me this thing. Feelings and emotions must stand above morality. Yeah. Come on. This is sickness.
Yeah.
You offended today?
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh my God.
I love it.
In the past, it seems like we've had people like this who who we have to cater to their every whim, emotional whim. They're called kings and dictators.
Yeah,
and usually
exactly.
we only have to stomach a few of them. But I mean, we've got a whole society of them. How on earth do we manage that? I mean,
yeah. Like, oh my God, like in that TV
and you
show.
Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like in the TV show Game of Thrones, where they had that. I used to call him the little twerp. You know, the little king, the blonde haired Joffrey. Joffrey. Yeah, I used to call him the little twerp. And yeah, I mean, you know, you had, now we have, you're right, we have a whole society of Joffreys that to deal with. Go ahead, Leon.
No, I was just gonna say, and these crybabies, these snowflakes, these little wimps, these are the people going to take us to the utopia.
Oh yeah.
This is what's going to happen. These people is going to take us to this post-racial America. Yeah. These wimps, these losers. God help us.
Well, you know, we had a whole bunch of items to get to on this, but you know, we're probably not going to get to most of them. Literally, there's just endless stories of this nowadays, and that's one of the things I was going to tell you, Tim. As far as if this had happened in a vacuum, this whole Bachelor thing, I would say, yeah, maybe it's some big stunt because it's just beyond belief. But in the past few years, this is kind of the norm of where we're going to, and I mean, it's insane. But just to give you an example, though, of that first story, that you know, something to cement that, and the fact that this isn't just a one-off. So there was a coach for TCU University, and I can't remember which university that is, but TCU,
Texas Christian University.
Texas Christian University, that's it. And this was from 2020. And so we had a coach, Gary Patterson, who I guess had been a longtime coach of the college. They celebrated him with a statue, you know, for all of his work. He, one of the winningest coaches, you know, out there in his level of football. So he had a problem that came up that surfaced in the year 2020, where a player had accused him, not from this year, but he accused him, I believe, in a past year when he had been a player on the team, that he had used the N-word in a locker room discussion with the players. And so it's like, you think, oh wow, that's terrible, you know, the guy is using the N-word. Okay, well, the thing is, he used the N-word not to disparage anybody. He used the N-word to tell this guy to stop using the N-word.
Exactly.
in the team meetings. And he was disciplining the kid. He said, we're not going to use that word, but he used the word to tell him not to use that word. And he's getting canceled. And I mean, and so he had a huge issue where they didn't actually wind up firing the coach. He had a huge back and forth. There was a lot of media around it in 2020, but then he just sort of mysteriously decided to retire at the end of the year. So I mean, I think it may have been an early retirement, but I call that a cancel. Yeah. But it's just hysterical that this is like Spanish Inquisition thinking or something. The idea that anything is as evidence, you know, of the sin. And here the sin is anything that could be attributed to racism. And here, this man who had coached, you know, essentially generations of black kids playing football, right? And he used the N-word to tell them, don't use that word. And the disgusting thing about that, I will bet money. I don't know this for a fact, but I'll bet money. The student who complained about this coach, he probably listened to hip hop music where that word is used all the time. I am sure he hears it on when he travels on the rail and probably uses it with his friends also. Yeah. And he's complaining about this. This is the madness that's going on. You know, there's a very interesting story. I hope we have time. Let me just tell you this one real quick. That magazine called Teen Vogue. Okay. This they hired this woman. She was going to be the editor-in-chief. She was not given the job because they discovered she had used some anti-Asian rhetoric on online some 10 years prior. Social media long time earlier.
Yeah, long time ago. You know, the person who was pushing, the senior staff who was pushing to have her not get a job, it turns out that she have in her past been using some, I think might have been the N-word, I think it was the N-word actually. And she had used it online also. And to date, we haven't found out what they have done to that woman yet. So based upon their own rules, they should fire that woman, okay? On their own rules. But this is nonsense that's going on in our society.
Yeah, and it's just endless story after endless story. But that brings us into our Knucklehead Noise Patrol. And so that's a part of the show where we try and find some silly thing that some politician or media person has said. And this one is related. And this is actually why this is dangerous, because beyond just all the cases we cited were essentially private cases where, a television show, a newspaper, a college, you might be able to make the case, maybe a little bit of government influence there, but for the most part, private. And these are private people canceling other private people for whatever reason. But in the case of government is where this gets really insidious, because a lot of these people are voting, and they're voting for these racists to go into office and push these ideas, on us via government. And in this case, we have a Tammy Duckworth. She is I believe she's a representative. I'm not sure for which state, but she's an Asian American.
She's Tammy Duckworth, I believe it's Illinois.
Okay. And she's upset that there isn't enough Asian American representation going on in Congress right now, or not in Congress, in Biden's administration for his appointees. And so she said, essentially, I am a no vote on the floor on all non-diversity nominees for the Biden administration. She said, I will vote for racial minorities and LGBTQ, rather. Sorry, my alphabet is a little mixed up. But LGBTQ, but anybody else, I'm not voting for. Well, who's not a racial minority? Who doesn't fall into? She said she'd vote for racial minorities or LGBTQ, but nobody else. Who does that leave? That's just white men. I guess that means white women too. So I guess she's at least, she's not biasing this on gender. But literally, she's not going to vote for essentially any white person. So that's her way around of saying I will vote for racial minorities and LGBTQ, but anybody else I'm not voting for. And this person is in our government, and they are telling us that they are voting for nominees based on racist reasons. Okay. Right. And that's her thing until she sees some Asian Americans get put up there by the Biden administration.
Well, George Wallace told us segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. And this is what these people are pushing now. Oh, diversity. Really? Is that what they're really looking for? Diversity? What about diversity in thinking? Do they look for that? I never told you guys this, but what I really hate is this expression, people of color. Oh, God, I hate that word. You wouldn't believe how much I hate that. So what happened? You white people have no color? No, I'm serious. You don't? I must have missed that.
Well, I won't use that term around you, Leon, because I don't want to be canceled. Tim, do you have any final parties?
I might cancel if you ever call me. If you ever call me a person of color, I don't want you guys. I might cancel you guys.
I'm fine. That's good. We can leave on that.
Awesome. So yeah, we don't. We're getting cancellations on this show, and we won't use POC around Leon anymore, so we don't get canceled. Thanks for joining us today, and if we don't get canceled after this show, we'll see you at the next one.